Live here on AMP, Sunday night, Dolphins take down the Patriots. Full slate of games. Here with Cowherd. Colin, what's going on?
I didn't love that reversal on the I would have just given it to him because you can't tell when that first round offensive lineman, I think he was a first or a second round pick for them, the rookie, people kind of that dubious pick. He's actually been a really good player, Strange.
Yeah.
I didn't love, and I don't blame officials, but I didn't love that reversal. I would have let it go. I got to tell you something. That game never felt close. The fact that New England was driving, I don't want to be overly critical of Belichick because he is the smartest coach ever, and just being clever doesn't necessarily win you Super Bowls. But the Niners have the best personnel in the league. I believe that. I think Miami, if you count head coach and then coordinator on the other side of the ball from the head coach, I think you can make an argument Miami's the best coach team in the league. Between Fangio and his sort of sporadic pass, his blitzes, his coverages, I think McDaniel is so clever. It's like a faster version of the 49ers.
Well, he's an Ivy League Shanahan, right? Ivy League guy. The Shanahan family have known him for 20 years. He's Kyle's right-hand guy. They loved him. It speaks for itself what they're doing. Think how many guys, obviously Tyreek was an established player when they traded for him, and they traded a lot and paid him a lot. But how often when the little guy who's 5'9", $180, but is really fast, is drafted really high in the draft, it feels like they don't hit a lot, and Waddle is a home run. I mean, that guy is a stud. So between those two guys and Mostert, the speed they have, I mean, it was evident tonight. I was watching thinking if the Patriots, if you put some of the Brady offenses on this team, they would be fantastic. They're good on special teams. Their defense is really solid.
Yeah.
Offensively, in 2023, just a little behind the times. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, if you put Jalen Waddle on the Patriots, you'd have a real team. They just don't have any juice. And a lot of these low percentage up the sideline routes where even if you catch it, you're often out of bounds. Bill O'Brien, New England feels outdated. Like, they do things that are still very important, like not a lot of penalties, turnovers. They play good defense. But you really, I mean, listen, it's like any other culture, John. The rules have all changed. It's such a benefit to be an offensive coach. Last week, 10 of the top 11 rated offensive lines, according to PFF, had offensive head coaches. And I just feel like New England struggled a little bit up front in protection tonight. They don't have a lot of juice on the outside. I think San Francisco's the best team I've seen so far this year. I think Miami's the second best team in the league. I don't necessarily, I don't trust their offensive line. But then I watched again tonight and I thought it was pretty good, especially when they ran the ball guard, center guard on New England. I was like, maybe they can play power football. They did tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Mostert's been a starting running back on a team that was in the Super Bowl. I mean, he's a really good player if he stays healthy. Fangio, they mentioned this on the broadcast. Obviously, New England's offense isn't the Chargers' offense, but tweak some stuff, change with the defensive line. I mean, he's elite, and I'm sure he's probably the highest compensated defensive coordinator in the NFL. I mean, he probably makes $5 million or something a year. So he's the real deal. I think that if they keep Tua on the field, I mean, they do a lot of, they don't ask him to sit back, 7-step drop, and just like,
nope.
It's a lot of getting the ball, getting rid of the ball quickly. Those two wide receivers get open so fast that what are you going to do? You're not going to press them because you're terrified they're going to run by you. You play off, you get it to them quickly, and they can get by you. Those two guys are just an elite combination, which it's not normal for two small guys to be able to dominate, but they just are on the upper end of, obviously, Tyreek's a Hall of Famer, and I think Waddle's one of the better young just players in the league.
Yeah, tonight when you juxtapose these two teams, it was really, and I said this Friday on the Herd, I said it's going to be a clash of cultures. It's like 1998 football and 2023 football, and the newer version won. It was just a matter, again, if you gave New England one elite number one receiver, this team can play with anybody because that's what they're missing. The question was, can Miami play physical football like New England? And I think it was answered tonight. They had a more consistent pass rush. They ran the football between the tackles. It was like, wow, Miami can play power football too with Mike McDaniel, which is, by the way, that system is built ideally to be able to do both. San Francisco does both. So Miami and San Francisco, Those are the two best teams I've seen. Do you dispute that? Anybody else you've seen?
No, I mean, San Francisco today, I thought had their C game and won pretty easily. So yeah, they look pretty good. The AFC, I mean, there's just obviously the Bengals are 0-2. The Chiefs, they'll be fine, but they're not playing very well right now. The Chargers are in shambles. We'll see tomorrow with the Steelers and the Browns. But yeah, I mean, the Bills, they played the Raiders, who defensively have been shitty for a decade. But I'm with you on Miami. I think they got it just because I believe in Vic Fangio. Don't love the personnel, but he's such a good coach. They'll figure it out. And who knows, maybe Jalen Ramsey, they're able to get him back by December. That could be a huge boost, right? But I think with New England, and I never understood when Kyle Shanahan, who clearly wanted to draft him number 3, talked out of it. I don't view him ever as a first-round pick. Like, I don't take guys like him and Kenny Pickett in the first round. I just don't. Cousins and Dax, these guys go, that talent level goes later in the draft. Now, if you are going to hit on that guy, he's got to be pretty flawless in terms of not turning the ball over. Last week, airmails the ball, pick 6 to the volume Slay. This week, I mean, that pick, you can say, well, their guys don't get open, but you just can't throw. You're just throwing it right to the other team. And that's the thing with New England. The mistakes. I was at the Fresno State game last night at Arizona State, and a lot of former players, a lot of Pat Hill used to send a lot of guys to New England, and talking to these guys, in the 2000s, in their heyday, before the second half of the dynasty, the discipline and the mandates for zero, excuses of missed assignments, screw ups, it just was not allowed. Because it started with Tom and it went all the way down. Everyone, any moment you screwed up, you get cut. Obviously, they weren't cutting Tom, but it was just, and you just watch them now. It's like the mistakes. You can't really cut Mac, but they're kind of just in the boat with him. They can't go anywhere else. And he's a turnover machine right now.
Yeah, and the other thing was, in New England's heyday, for most of the dynasty, I viewed them as smarter than other teams. I watched teams like Baltimore come into town with more talent than the Ray Lewis teams. The Steelers had more talent. There were years the Colts did, Denver did, but New England outsmarted you. They would dial up a trick play late in the third quarter that, Edelman throwing downfield, special teams. I don't feel New England's a smart team. When I watch them, I think they're a team that lack speed. Their schemes aren't smarter. They're not fooling people. They're turning the ball over. They never had to be the most athletic team or the best roster, but they were good. They had playmakers. I mean, even Wes Welker, Edelman, they had a playmaker feel. Gronk, Aaron Hernandez, didn't have to be Randy Moss, playmakers. They got no playmakers. Kendrick Bournes, Devontae Parkers, and they're not terribly smart. They make the same mistakes everybody else does. Now, I think one of the things I spent the weekend in Chicago, flew back this morning. As I came into the season saying I'm about 60% in the Justin Fields is going to make it, but I don't love what I see as a passer. I mean, I thought today it was bad. Like, you fly home, he's blaming the OC. I think you fly home, and there are people having discussions in that team upstairs on that staff that don't believe in him. That's my takeaway is you got to win that game against Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield was far more productive. Like, that offensive line for Chicago, it's not elite. It's not Philadelphia. John, it's not that bad. There was time today to make plays.
He's not very good, Colin. I mean, it's just that simple. He's not right now. He's a low-level NFL quarterback.
Yep.
Of all the 32 starters, he's much closer to 32 right now than he is 20. I watched that game, and there were a lot of good games on this morning, but every single time that they were on offense, I clicked back to it. I thought, one, he's just not very naturally accurate. That really stands out.
He's not.
And a lot is made of seeing the field and stuff, and that's Kyle Shanahan. When they made that trade, it was a 2-horse race. He didn't even mess with him. He was not even in consideration because he thought he did not see the field. He did not anticipate. And coaches, I think, sometimes see that better than like the front office scouting, because that's right. They scheme the offense. But there were a couple plays today on just like wheel routes and just balls in the flat where he is throwing 99-mile-an-hour fastballs at guys' feet. You don't need to just throw a changeup, but he can't really. And obviously now his confidence, he's a bad player. And you can tell me all you want. Win-loss record is not a quarterback stat. Bullshit. I mean, all the good quarterbacks win. And he's not like they didn't even have a chance. I mean, Baker Mayfield looked like Drew Brees relative to him on the same field. Now, and Baker's playing pretty well, but Justin Fields was bad. That was really, really bad.
Football is back in full swing and another week of absolutely epic games. Who's got you covered for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5. That's it, $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on action this year. All DraftKings customers, all, can take advantage of 2 new offers every game this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with the DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use the code Colin, that's me, COLIN, to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, code Colin, COLIN. The crown is yours. Football is officially back. No more preseason games. The regular season is here. Listen, we all like watching football on TV, but nothing's better live and in person. And the best way to get tickets to any of these games is at Game Time, the fastest growing ticket app in the entire United States. For last-minute amazing deals on tickets to see your favorite football team in September, download Game Time. And it's not just for football. Baseball playoff games, comedy shows, concerts all across the country. Download the Game Time app and use the redeem code Colin, COLIN, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Get out and have some fun this weekend, baby. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time. For a limited time, you can save up to 40% off on an NFL Plus Premium annual subscription when you sign up through Plus Play from Verizon. Plus Play. It is a platform where you can shop, manage, and save on the subscriptions you already love, like NFL Plus. With NFL Plus Premium, you get access to live games on mobile, NFL Red Zone, NFL Network, and more. So you can watch multiple games all at once on any screen around you for updates. Never miss a touchdown. That simple. And for fantasy players, NFL Plus Premium makes all the difference. Access to programming like Fantasy Live through the NFL Network, Red Zone for tracking player performances on a Sunday, access to live local and primetime games, access to Fantasy Plus. Just go to verizon.com/NFL to get NFL Plus Premium today. 40% off, that's 40% off an annual subscription, just $59.99 for the full season. Get it before it's gone. I always kind of roll my eyes at the quarterback. It's winning is not a quarterback stat. 27 starts, 5-22. Come on. Dan Marino didn't win Super Bowls. Dan Marino won a lot of games, okay, and not with always great personnel. Brett Favre won a lot of games without Pro Bowl wide receivers. There's 3 or 4 plays in every football game that high-end quarterbacks make. Mac Jones tonight on that final drive. Some of those plays, he just doesn't move well enough. And I think what happens, John, in situations like this is, for instance, Herbert. I saw some stat in his last 4 starts. He's 66% completion percentage, 98 passer rating, 1,300 yards. They're 0-4. And nobody looks at Justin Herbert and says, it's Justin's fault. They're putting up 26, 28 a game. This is different. You may not love the coach, but what happens when you don't love the quarterback? So here's the thing. I think it would be a tougher decision for Chicago. But if you're the GM and you're the owner and you have a draft coming up with 6 to 7 first-round quarterbacks and all of them, Drake May, Shedeur Sanders, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix is having a season.
Crushing it.
It's like, okay, All of these guys look like modern, even Bo Nix looks better this year. So I do think it's easier to move off. It's easier to move off Justin Fields than maybe any other year. And I'm sorry, their offensive personnel, John, it's not that bad. It's not.
I think it's a two-pronged question. Now, one, do you leave Justin Fields? It's an easy one because you just watch him every week. Even the fans will agree he's not good enough. It's not one of those that it'll be universal. It is growing by the week. I mean, my mom can tell the guy's not a very good player at this point. This GM and coach didn't draft him. Then you look at the coach and the GM. Are they the right people to do this moving forward? They traded for Chase Claypool last week, pick 32. I'm sure you saw that viral video going around.
Yeah.
That's a good example, a good organization. Okay, the pick's long gone. Cut the guy after week one. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Lose more games? You're already losing. How do you allow that to happen? And to me, you just question the operation there. Obviously, Eberflus. Is he good enough? I got no clue. So you're going to draft Penix because they're going to be in position not just with their pick, but remember, we've talked about this with Carolina's pick. So even if they're at like 3 and 6, they could easily maybe get up a spot. They're going to have a ton of options. Right, but are these people the group to do it? We've seen them make moves. The draft one was relatively easy. They had Carolina, kind of bent over a barrel on that one. But some of these other moves, it's like, do they know what they're doing? Especially the defensive coach. You always talk about this. So I don't know. I mean, people in the NFL, it's always easy to say, we'll just tank for this guy. Well, that's true for the fans, but we see coaches all the time. Todd Bowles is a good example. Oh, Tampa just sucked. Try to get Caleb Williams. Todd Bowles not thinking like that. Mike Evans and those guys aren't thinking like Baker's not thinking like that. So they're not, I don't know if they're going to be a 10-win team, but they're going to try like hell to be 8-9 wins, right?
Yeah.
So the Bears are just going to suck because that's the quarterback's not any good. But do the other, if they were in position with better personnel, would they be doing better? Like, are these guys capable? We see it with Brandon Staley, right? It's clear he's not good. He's been given a team that if you flip-flop him and Vrabel, you'd be like, well, the Chargers are going to win 13 games. The Titans would win, what? Fucking 5? I mean, they'd be terrible.
Well, it's a great example. I want to pivot to that because Brandon Staley got into it again with a reporter on the post-game press conference, and he is feeling the heat. And I know the Chargers in-house don't love Staley snipping at reporters. He comes across as sort of a know-it-all and condescending. McVay doesn't. I think you've said it before. Brandon Staley's pretending to be a coach, and Sean McVay is a coach. But it was another example today where Ryan Tannehill's final drive in regulation, they couldn't make a stop. Ryan Tannehill's drive in overtime, they couldn't make a stop. Not only do they have a Bosa on the edge, but they returned, I think, like 10 starters. They're not, and they have 2 draft picks, both, especially Tua from USC, the edge. They're good players. I mean, Tom Telesco is one of the better drafters in the league. First 4 picks. Yeah, he just doesn't miss. Now, you could say Khalil Mack was overpaid, but the truth is, at that time, they needed somebody. Like having 2 pass rushers, Herbert wasn't making any money. Your left tackle, Rashawn Slater's not making money. You can pay 2 pass rushers. I don't think the Spanoses will eject Staley this year, but let me throw this at you. Did they hire Kellen Moore with an eye on making him the coach? Because the Spanoses don't pay a fortune. You don't have to pay Kellen Moore $12 million. I would guess today Kellen Moore's the coach next year. I don't know if they'd replace him midseason, but like when a coach is arguing with the press and calling them out by name, like to me that feels personal and defensive.
Well, I think sometimes there are going to be different sides to arguments sometimes when it comes to play calling or an individual player. I think everyone's in agreement here. The Chargers don't have a good enough coach for the team that they have. And most people thought this offseason, you got Sean Payton in your backyard. He's already in LA. He likes it. He clearly loves your quarterback. Anyone that follows this team knows he was never going to pay him money. That's not the way they operate. Look at their last several coaches: McCoy, Anthony Lynn. These guys on the hierarchy of NFL salaries.
Well, Mike Riley,
the bottom, if not the bottom, aren't they? I mean, they're the cheapest. So I think Kellen Moore. I think there's a chance you're 0-4, 0-5. You keep losing games, which you can't pick them to win moving forward, just because you can't trust the head coach and the defense is in shambles. Yeah, I could see them, kind of pulling the trigger because there was clearly pressure coming into the season. He feels it. Think about some of the moves they made. I'm with you on Khalil Mack, but a big reason they wanted Khalil Mack because this guy had coached him, helped make his name with Khalil Mack back when Khalil Mack was good. They gave up a second-round pick. He makes a lot of money.
Right.
I love Khalil Mack as a young player. He's a shell of
Right.
himself. He's not very good.
That's
J.C.
right.
Jackson, you spend a lot of money. That's not working out. Now, he got hurt, but so you allocate a lot of resources. It's not working. Your head coach has nothing to do with the offense or the quarterback. So if the defense sucks, what's he really doing? He's not like some rah-rah motivator, Mike Tomlin, Nick Saban, Deion Sanders.
Right.
That's not his deal. I think he's in major trouble. I mean, because he's not that expensive to fire. It's not like you're firing Andy Reid or Sean Payton where you have an $80 million payout. I think they're a couple losses away from just doing that,
Yeah,
and almost getting a free interview, Colin, with Kellen.
Yeah, I'm looking at some numbers right now. So if anybody's watching this on YouTube, I'm looking at some numbers because, as you know, they threw for almost 500 yards. And tonight, again, I think the Chargers have better personnel overall than the Patriots do defensively. And remember, the Patriots were missing 2 corners and one got hurt. Tua threw for 249 yards and an interception against New England. Against the Chargers, a more talented defense, he almost threw for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. Tonight, Tua struggled. Tua dropped a couple of snaps. Tua was pressured. So there's a prime example is that Tua won, but he sputtered for a while. He wasn't perfect. A lot of the stuff was yards after catch. He almost got double the yards against the Chargers that he did against New England. And the Chargers have better personnel.
Well, think about this. You watched the Bengals the last couple of weeks. You go, well, if Joe Burrow's going to look like this, they're going to lose. Like he's got to play better. I don't know if it's calf's issue. He just looks off. The eye test, it does not look like Joe Burrow. Now, last year he started slow, whatever, but it's understandable. You go, if Joe Burrow's going to play like crap, the Bengals are going to lose. Well, Herbert's playing well. They keep scoring points. He looks like a really good quarterback, and they keep losing. The Dolphins last week, okay, it turns out maybe the Dolphins 14-win team. This Titans team, I mean, how many guys on the Titans would start for the Chargers? To me, it's just simple. It's a coaching. It's like Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Fields or something. The mismatch is so wide that of course they lost because Mike Vrabel is an elite coach.
Yeah, they have their interior defensive lineman for Tennessee. He had a sack.
Simmons is good. Yeah,
he's
Jeffrey Simmons. He's a star.
Yeah, and they've got about 2 or 3 other guys that you would obviously get run. But it was a lobsided game today. And I think even I was reading something on the internet yesterday about it. Like the wise guys like the Titans simply because they thought it was one of the worst coaching mismatches in the league this year. So, we might as well talk Dallas and the Jets. I think Dallas, there's not a lot of great quarterbacks in this league. There's about 6 great ones and another 6 good ones. Anybody that's not on that list is not beating Dallas this year. Now, Jalen Hurts can. Daniel Jones can't. He can't beat him. Sam Howell can't beat him. Zach Wilson can't beat him. I look at Dallas and I go up and down their schedule, and the way I look at that defense, John, is there's about 6 quarterbacks in this league that can beat them, and another 4 or 5 that if they get protection, it'll be a close game. I think Dallas's defense is going to win them 12 games. I think Dak is not the story. Is Micah Parsons the best defensive player in the league?
Well, he had a play today on, I think, his first sack. He was at full speed in half a step on a little stunt. It's like, what are you supposed to do with this? I was way too young to really remember, watch LT's prime, but that has to be some of what it looked like. The speed, the violence, the closing ability, how you can move him around like a chess piece. I thought this last year in the second round, they went toe-to-toe with the Niners, who are clearly, if not the most, but right there now with Dallas, the most physical team. I mean, they are violent on defense. And the Cowboys were ready to win a championship on defense. But Dak threw the 2 picks, and that the game was tight. Purdy didn't play that well because it's hard against the Cowboys. This defense feels even a little bit better. Maybe Micah's 5% better. All the guys have played together a little longer. They kept Dan Quinn. I'm with you. I picked Dallas to win the East at the beginning of the year, not because I don't think highly of the Eagles. I think both of them are 13, 14-win teams. But I've seen what the Niners do separating with an elite defense and an elite pass rush. It just takes over. Zach Wilson listen, has he improved? Who knows? You weren't going to find much out this week. Probably have a better idea next week when he's playing Belichick. But that team, I'm telling you, if they just need to get the 4-game stretch, if they stay healthy, like Eli got, like Joe Flacco got, where Dak is just under control. They don't need the wild card game where he throws 5 touchdowns every week. Can he just play a couple game stretch where he's not throwing the ball to the other team, and they can win a Super Bowl? Because that's how good the defense is. The same with the Niners. The Niners could have won several Super Bowls. Their defense was right there. Jimmy just let them down a couple times.
Well, look at this. So here are the quarterbacks the Cowboys face. Dobbs, Arizona. He can't beat him.
No.
Mac Jones, Patriots, with no number 1 receiver. Win. Now, Brock Purdy's got a shot because of his personnel. Herbert, okay. Stafford, I don't think they have enough weapons. Cooper Kupp is back. It'll be interesting. Jalen Hurts, yes. Then Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, Sam Howell, Geno Smith. I mean, there's now
they're going to win a lot of games. They're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah,
they got 3 games. You know, if they somehow split with the Eagles in that Niner game on Sunday Night Football, I think it's going to be a coin flip game. If they can somehow go 2-3, you're looking at the number 1 seed, right? And if they go 1-3, you're maybe looking at the wild card, right? So it's gonna. And I think all these games, the Niners play the Eagles. Obviously, the Niners play the Cowboys, and the Eagles play the Cowboys twice. You know, these games are going to come down to a fumble here, who doesn't throw a pick, and it's going to decide, because all 3 have number 1 seed talent, right? I think clearly the Niners have the most established head coach right now in terms. He's the play caller also. McCarthy. Say this: when you have that good of a defense, it hardens your team because you practice against it. And now this team, so the Cowboys to me just look a little bit better than they did last year, and they were pretty good last year. And the Eagles. You and I talked about this. Anytime you change, if we went to the store and got a set of ingredients, 2X, I cook a meal and, Gordon Ramsay cooks the meal, even though it's the same ingredients, the meal is going to taste different. So just because the players return, new coordinator, it doesn't look the same. Right.
Yeah. And I also think Dan Quinn,
they'll be fine, but
yeah. No, Dallas is. I had them as a playoff team. I also think Philadelphia. We can circle back to Thursday. Philadelphia's pulled back. They don't know quite what they are, and it's interesting because they have a power running quarterback, and they signed him to a big contract. And it's like when Russell Wilson signed his big deal, he didn't want to run anymore. And then Jalen Hurts signs his big deal, and my takeaway is if he plays only 4 more years, that's worth the contract. He's a power running quarterback. Lean into what he is. It's almost like some of these guys that run around, when they sign the big contracts, they think, okay, that's for a pocket quarterback. It's like, no, bro.
Yeah.
Like Lamar Jackson today. I always thought Lamar throws it better than people give him credit for. But I watched him today, and he is just a pain in the ass to defend. Yeah. He's just difficult. And Baltimore's a fascinating team because none of these injuries, other than J.K. Dobbins, are season-ending injuries. I don't know how much you watched today.
They look good. They look good. Lamar looked good. I mean, he was dynamic.
I thought he was dynamic, and I think, you start looking around at who can beat Patrick Mahomes. You take out the Chargers because we don't like the coach. Forget Denver. Cincinnati's sputtering. Buffalo makes too many mistakes. I look around and I'm, Baltimore's one of those teams. Like if OBJ was healthy, Zay Flowers plays well. Baltimore's just goofy enough counter to what the league is. Do you find them to be a legit kind of AFC championship team? I think they're so different. They're hard to prepare for.
I think a lot of these type players have come into the league, really starting with Tyreek Hill and Debo, and I think Waddle's like this. I think Zay Flowers, he's a really dynamic player, and you put him on that offense, he can do a lot. Like he can play receiver, you can put him in the backfield, you can give him end arounds. He's added a new element because Baltimore's always going to be solid on defense. Their culture of toughness. When Lamar is running around, because I like what you said about Hurts. I missed on Hurts. I didn't like him in college, but I said, hell, if he can't play quarterback, he could just transition to become a running back. His instincts as a runner are elite. What did he do right away when he came in the NFL? He was a dynamic runner. Well, now it feels like clearly they've told him, be careful. Last year you hurt your shoulder. Lamar today's running around like it's 2019.
I know.
Hurts just kind of feeling his way out.
Yeah.
It's like Jalen and they call some quarterback powers. Well, if you're going to tell him he can't run fast, don't call those plays anymore. But that's a huge element of why he's a $50 million player. So now they're kind of caught in no man's land.
Yep.
He's thinking he's not running as fast. He's never going to be he's more of a rhythm player, kind of like Russell was in his peak.
Yeah.
He's not just going to sit back and throw 40 times and go 37 of 40. That's not his style. It's blended in with the runs like Lamar, and he can outplay Mahomes in the Super Bowl. But when you take away one of those elements, new play caller who's clearly not as good as Shane Steichen, it looks a little weird. Listen, the Ravens kept talking, we're going to spread it out and throw. I've watched the first couple weeks. They're just kind of playing Raven football again.
Yeah. No, I think Baltimore leans into what Lamar is, and I think what he is the fastest human being that's ever played quarterback. And if you don't use that, it's silly. And I still think Lamar throws the ball better than people give him credit for. I was thinking about this weekend was an interesting weekend because, there wasn't, and nothing blew me away. I mean, I can't hit a pick. I'm 0 for 9 on my picks. I got Carolina tomorrow. I can't, for the life of me, I can't get a pick. Was there anything this weekend? I mean, Colorado almost lost to Colorado State was the only surprising thing I saw this weekend. Was there anything that took you back this weekend? Or I thought Green Bay, Atlanta, the line was 1. I don't take much into it. Didn't shock me that Seattle went on the road. Geno played pretty well and won. Did you have any takeaway to you this weekend, college or pro, that was like a whoa moment?
Well, one thing I might be wrong on, and I might have talked you out of this because you loved them, and I was like, I think they're going to be the worst team in the league, and that was the Rams. Because you liked a lot of the young players. Their young players look pretty good.
Yeah.
And the one thing they have is a big-time head coach who is a fantastic play caller, who's just awesome. I mean, Sean McVay's a stud. His quarterback, when healthy, is a pretty freaking good player.
Yeah.
And, the Niners essentially won by 10. He kicked a field goal with no time left, but to make it a 7-point game. The Rams team's pretty good. If they had Cooper Kupp on this squad, they're going to be able to score on a lot of people if Stafford's playing healthy. They have some young speed on defense. Number 0, Young, the pass rusher they drafted. He's flying around. Sean, I thought, I misread that squad. They have a little more talent than I thought, and obviously I thought the quarterback was breaking down last year. He looks fantastic. He looks like the version of the guy that they got. Maybe they are more in the wild card mix and not in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes than I realize. I'm going to have to pivot on that take, I think.
Yeah, so they have a rookie receiver from BYU.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, so I think he's got 25 catches in 2 weeks.
Broke a record, most ever in NFL history, first 2 games.
So I think they're moving off Van Jefferson, who one of the picks today by Stafford was Van Jefferson didn't run the right route. He didn't go vertically. He kind of faded on it. So if Cooper comes back as a 1, now they have a 2. By the way, Tutu Atwell looked like a bust. Now he's productive. You know what they do? And they told me they were going to do this. They just put him in motion so you can't get your hands on him, and he gets a running start. He's just too fast. So now they have, and Tyler Higbee's a very nice tight end. So now they have Tutu Atwell, Cooper Kupp, the rookie from BYU, and now you're like, all right, now it's a real offense. And I will say this. Here's a prime example of what I talk about. 10 of the top 11 O-lines were offensive coaches. So Rob Havenstein, the right tackle, is very good, and they drafted a very good left guard out of TCU. Everything else, they got a left tackle playing right guard. They got a guard who was a backup center now starting at center. They have an undrafted guy playing left tackle. This is a prime example. Sean McVay, twice, Jared Goff's first year with him and this year, has basically taken an offensive line that was a bit of a wreck and solved it in a single offseason. McDermott, 5 years, can't get it right. Tomlin, 6 years, can't get the O-line right. Twice, because the Niners didn't get as much pressure as you think they would against an O-line outside a right tackle that's viewed as poor.
They weren't getting any pressure until they started blitzing Fred Warner.
So it's like the Rams in 2 starts have done a great job of production. You look at these defensive coaches, Andy Reid, one off season, got the O-line right. McVay did it with Whitworth. McVay's done it. This is the difference between offensive and defensive coaches. The ability, because during camp, I was following the Rams' offensive line stuff through The Athletic. I was following the young reporter. It was a mess. They were giving me like 6 different options, and then they ended up starting Noteboom at a guard. They just bailed on the tackle, and they're good and highly functional. So I Again, if Cooper Kupp comes back and plays, what they'll be in the NFC is around a wild card berth. Because let's be honest, Dallas is probably better than we all thought. Detroit did Detroit today. I think you're right. I think the Rams will be viable. I think they'll be a wild card team in the race.
I think the NFC is a lot like college football, where the Cowboys, Niners, and the Eagles, they'll figure it out. They're just so much more talented. All the other teams are essentially like the Georgias and Michigans. And then everyone else is kind of vying, for spot 4 through 7. And we got Atlanta, Green Bay, Seattle, the Rams, Detroit. They're all kind of in that world. One team may win a playoff game, but I don't see any of those teams beating the Eagles and definitely the Cowboys and the 49ers right now.
Yeah. All right, John Middlekauff, great stuff. Appreciate it. And I'm going to bring in Dave Wannstedt tomorrow. I want to talk about the Bears because I really think it's going to get really ugly. Talk radio. Chicago is one of the last cities in America. Philadelphia, Boston, New York, where talk radio has influence. That is all people are going to talk about for the next 72 hours is Justin Fields.
Well, could he get benched sometimes at some time this year if it keeps going at this level? You just write it out.
I think they'll write it out, but I think, listen, it's what happened, John? There's too much social media. There's too much video out there. There's too much film. You have proof now. I went before we came on tonight and looked up 2 different things on the internet where there are people wide open downfield. Yeah. He appears to be looking at them and he won't let it go. There's just too much out there that works against him. 5 and 22, wide open receivers. I mean, Baker Mayfield looks so much better today than Justin Fields. And again, talk radio is not the be all end all, but everybody listens to it in Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia. They just do. They don't. In Los Angeles, nobody's listening, right? San Francisco a little bit, but in a lot of these markets, Atlanta, it's just not the same. I would love to listen to Sports Talk Radio in Chicago tomorrow.
It's going to be ugly.
All right, John. Great seeing you, bud.
See you, Colin.